Hi everybody. I know it's Thanksgiving time and I'm trying to keep up with these videos. So, what we're going to be making today is stuffing, cornbread stuffing. And if you have not seen my cornbread video, go back and watch it. I'll put it up here. Go back and watch it and you can make your cornbread. So, what we're using today for our stuffing is sage, uh, all-purpose seasoning, and I'm using poultry seasoning, which is very good in sage, cream of mushroom soup, chicken stock, which I've made from my Watkins, cubed stuffing mix, which this one comes from California. When I was in California, I bought this because they don't sell this brand here. It's called Mrs. Culbertson's. But what it is, it's herb stuffing mix. And you can either use this type or whatever type is they sell by, by where you live. And the reason why I use the herb stuffing because it has seasonings in it already. So then that prevents me from having to put too much seasonings in it. And my trusty cornbread that I've had frozen in the freezer, because when you're making stuffing you can always prep ahead of time. So this is like cornbread that I've made in advance and put it in the freezer so that it could freeze. And then this is cornbread that I've made since then that I put to use aside. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do in my bowl, and use a big mixing bowl so that you have space to work with, is I'm going to empty my cornbread that I've made into the bowl. So let's go ahead and empty that in. I know this is a favorite part of Thanksgiving for me. A lot of people like the mac and cheese, but I like the stuffing. And what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to give you a palette to use so that once you make this stuffing, you can put anything in it that you like. Because I know some people like apples in their stuffing. Some people use, what else do they use, Steve? Chestnuts in your stuffing. And they use a lot of different things, but I'm going to show you the surprise that I put in my stuffing. And I never thought I'd like it, but I tell you, if I don't have it that way, it seems funny. So, what I've done is I've put my cornbread in here that was made by me. And what I'm going to do is open up this stuffing mix, which is no more than cubed bread. I know back in the day when my mom used to make her stuffing, she would just use regular bread and she'd put it in. So, I'm going to open this up. Did you pass me the scissors, please? Scissors. Yeah. I just need to cut this open. Okay. Thank you. So, I'm going to cut this open. Sometimes these come two to a package, and sometimes they don't. Okay. So, I'm going to empty this in here, and as you can see, it does have seasonings on the bread. I'm going to empty this in here. So, what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be using my hands to stir, because I like working with my hands. Some people do, some people don't. I just feel like it gets mixed up better when you do it this way. So, okay. So, what I'm going to do is just kind of mix this around together. Some of my cornbread is still frozen, so I'm going to break that up. So now it doesn't have to be defrosted because it's going to break up anyway. So, to this cornbread mix here, I'm going to add my vegetables. So, the vegetables in your stuffing is going to be, it smells so good. It's going to be celery, onions, bell peppers, or any kind of vegetables that you want to add because it's your stuffing. So what I've done is I've chopped my vegetables up and I sauteed them. Sometimes I saute them and sometimes I don't. But I sauteed these in butter because I always feel like once you put them in, they're going to cook anyway because of the stuffing is cooking. So I put my sauteed vegetables in. Yes.
Do you think stuffing is better inside? It's an age-old question. Inside the turkey or outside when you're cooking it?
Well, basically, back in the day, everybody cooked their stuffing inside of their turkey.
Right.
But as time went on, they started saying that you could get all these diseases from cooking it inside your stuffing. But it's like I beg to differ. I like it in my turkey, but then I can have it not cooked in. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I prefer the cooking outside of the turkey. It forms a better crust that way, I think.
Okay. Well, usually when you put it into, I'm adding a cup of water. Usually when you put it into the turkey, that part that's inside the turkey is not going to have a crust because it's inside of the turkey. But the ones that is on the outside of the turkey could have a crust. So what I'm going to add to this is my chicken stock. You want to be careful adding salt to your stuffing because once you add chicken stock, excuse me, I have a helper here today. His name is Steve. Steve, could you fill this up with water, please?
Okay.
So once you start adding salt to your stuffing, you want to be careful because if there's salt in your soup, that's going to salt your stuffing. And you don't want your stuffing to be over salted. So, okay, so I've added a cup of chicken stock that I made, and then I also added 2 cups of water. So, what I'm going to add to that is my cream of mushroom soup. So, open that up. Get it all scraped. And let's add this. I'm doing this really slow because a lot of people have asked me for this recipe, and I want to make sure that you all get it. Because I'm telling you, there's nothing like stuffing, good stuffing. I'm going to put it away. So, what you want to learn to do when you're cooking is to taste your food. Because if you don't taste it, you're not going to know what it tastes like. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add my soup in. And I'm just stirring it with a spoon right now because I'm going to get in here with my hands and stir. So to this, you're going to add an egg, but you don't want to put your egg in until the last minute because you don't want to have to taste your stuffing to make sure that it has enough seasoning and you've got egg in it. So you don't add your egg until the very last second of it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and try. I'm trying some of the seasoning just to taste some of the stuffing just to taste the seasoning because you want your seasoning to be exactly like you want it. Okay. So to me, with what I have in there, I need to add more seasoning. So I'm going to add some poultry seasoning. And I usually don't measure. You could start off adding like 2 tablespoons and stir it around and then taste it again. And then I'm going to add some sage. Sage is very important. And because I'm making quite a bit here, which doesn't look like quite a bit, but it's quite a bit. Okay, and then to that, I'm going to add some all-purpose seasoning. You don't have to add all-purpose seasoning to yours, but I do. And as you can see, I haven't used this, so I'm going to open it up. Helper, Steve, can you open this for me, please? Thank you. And then to that seasoning, I'm going to add some black pepper. And I'm going to add some garlic. I've added garlic powder and stuff, but this is plain fresh garlic. And you can mince your own garlic if you'd like, or you can buy it already minced. Me, I like to buy it already done. So I'm going to put some garlic in there. And I like a lot of garlic. So, to that, I'm going to add a couple of sticks of crushed red pepper for the spiciness of it. And I'm waiting for the...
So you just think, I don't know what they've done. Vacuum
Oh, you don't have to put that on. I can just sprinkle it in.
No, it's the cover of it.
Right? I can just sprinkle. Give me the bottle and I can just sprinkle in. And do...
Okay.
Oh, you got it on. Okay, thank you. So, for right now, this is what my stuffing is looking like. And I call this a canvas, like I said, because this gives you the ability to add other things to your stuffing. Apples, whatever other seasonings you want. So, I did all that. I'm going to stir this around. Now, I don't like dry stuffing, so I'm probably going to add more liquid than somebody else would. But I just don't like my stuffing dry. So let's clean this off. And what I'm going to do, and that's why I tell you to be careful with your salt that you put in, because when you put in soup and stuff, you're salting. And then after you finish getting it all together, you can go back and taste and see if you need to add salt. So, I'm going to add another can of cream of mushroom soup. Like so. And I'm going to show you the things, like I said, that I like to add to my stuffing. If you would have told me years ago that I liked it that way, I would have said, oh, heck no. So, to this, I'm going to add, I like to add a little bit of liquid smoke for my preference. Only because I like the smokiness that this gives my stuffing. So not a lot, just a couple of sprigs of it. And that's ready to go. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it. And see, when I say you mix it with your hand, it mixes so much better. Sometimes you have to get in there with your hands. Everything is not a, yeah, everything's not for mechanical mixing. And as I said, I like my stuffing, I don't like it dry. And then once these juices release in the oven, it'll cook up and it won't be as dry. So, and you can make stuffing in advance. I mean, I know a lot of people like to smell everything cooking on Thanksgiving, but I'm just saying, you could prepare it in advance, and then you can put it in the freezer. Okay, so this is what my stuffing looks now that it's mixed. What I'm going to do is ask Steve to give me a fork, and I'm going to give it another taste. Take my gloves off, put them away. Trying to keep my cooking area clean here. So, just any fork. Thank you. So, let's try and see what I need to add. Okay. It's very good. But to me, I could use more sage. So, I'm going to add a little bit more sage. I don't know what it is with me and these bottles and not opening them up.
Let me open it.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah, these are new.
Yeah,
That's
these are new. So, as I said, this stuffing is your canvas. You can add anything you want to your stuffing after you make it. Like I said, this is just a canvas. You can be your own.
This smells delicious.
I'm going to tell you, there's nothing like, you can use fresh sage, but I'm going to tell you, Watkins sage is the next best thing. I've added my onions and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another mix. Just to make sure. That I have the right amount of sage in here. I like sagey stuffing. A lot of people don't like sage, but if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. Put a lot in. Okay, so now that I've mixed it, perfect. Okay, now, as I said, this is a canvas for you to put anything you want in your stuffing. This is at this point where you can add your apples, your cranberries, cherries, whatever you want to add. At this point, this is where you would add it. So, to my stuffing, which I never thought I'd like, let me put my gloves on before I put the shop in. And I remember my mother made stuffing like this before, and we were like, yuck. And we ain't eating that stuff. But, okay. So, to my stuffing, I'm adding smoked oysters.
What? Oysters?
If you're not a oyster person, you don't have to add oysters. I've seen people add sausage. It just all depends. And it's like the flavor of these oysters and the oil that's on them gives your stuffing such a wonderful taste.
I have another question.
Yes.
Why not fresh oysters if you can get them?
Well, you know what? I've added fresh oysters before, and I just like the smokiness of the smoked oysters better.
So the smokiness of the smoked oysters enhances the oyster flavor. I'll take it.
Yes, it does. So, you can add as many cans as you like. I like a lot of oysters in my dressing. Like, I don't want to over add it, but I want to taste the oysters in my stuffing when I eat it. Add another.
Okay.
I'm not playing with the oysters this time.
I see you didn't save any for me to try, but that's fine. I'll just eat it in the stuffing.
And believe me, see how big they are? I usually chop them up, but what I'm going to do is when I mix it again, I'm going to break the oysters up there. So, Steve wanted to try an oyster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love oysters.
These are my oysters in my stuffing, and I just kind of break them up once I put them in. But I'm telling you, the oil off of, if you like oysters, the oil off of the oysters in your stuffing is going to be, I don't even know how to explain it. It's so good. But, as I said, when you make the stuffing, it's your canvas. You can put in what you'd like to put in. And like I said, I don't like them that big, so I kind of break them up so that it gets a chance to go into. But like I said, I've heard people adding sausage, all kinds of stuff. So, now that I've added my oysters, and I've got everything in here, I'm going to give it one more taste. Can I have another clean fork, please? And like I said, you have to taste what you're making, because if you don't, you won't know what it tastes like. Okay, so I'm going to have one more taste. Now this is just the cornbread and the stuffing mix. I haven't put the egg in here yet. because of the fact that I'm tasting it. Delicious. Okay. I think I could use a little more black pepper in here. And if you have people around, ask them to taste it for you, because sometimes they can taste what you can't taste. So, with that being said, I'm going to ask Steve to grab himself a spoon or a fork and taste this to see what he tastes.
Yeah, I was going to probably suggest a little bit of black pepper.
Yeah, I put in more black pepper.
It was very good. A dash more sage.
Okay, so he says a dash more sage, and guess what? We're going to put a dash more sage. Like I said, it's always to your taste. Some people don't like their stuffing tasting sagey, but I do. So Steve, clean your fork off so you can taste again to make sure that I have enough.
No, I'll get another fork.
Okay. Yeah, we got lots of forks, so that's my stuff that I put in on my canvas. Okay, it's all ready for you.
And you know, certain states are famous for whatever they grow. Maryland is famous for oysters and crabs.
Okay. So we got the okay. So what I'm going to do now, at this point, you can take your stuffing. If you have enough room in your freezer, you can freeze it, or you can go ahead. Could you spray that pan for me with nonstick? You can go ahead and cook it. And
I was going to do another suggestion, but
what's that?
Me being a Washington, D.C. / Marylander, I was going to say, what about the dash of Old Bay? But never mind.
Did I put Old Bay in the vegetables?
Okay.
Because I put Old Bay in everything.
I
really.
thought I tasted it.
Yeah, I put it in everything. So he's spraying the pan that I'm going to cook it in. Oh, so now that we've tasted everything and it's all ready to go, I think it's time to add the egg. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to be tasting it anymore. Which one to say? This is a cooking spray that I use from Watkins. It lasts a long time. So, because I'm not going to be tasting it anymore, I can go ahead and add my egg. So, to all this goodness, I'm going to add an egg. And what an egg does is it binds it together. I'm going to put my egg in. And I'm not going to put any more in my mouth because I have raw egg. So, I'm just going to mix it all together. Mix, mix. And the good thing about stuffing, it's so good warmed up. Because usually when I make stuffing, I make a lot. And with that that's left over, I freeze it into serving sizes. So when we get ready to eat dinner and we decide we want some stuffing, it's already made. And believe me, if you're like cooking a chicken for dinner and you want some stuffing to go with it, all you have to do is put your chicken in the oven, let it cook, and let all the juices flow out. And then after that, you take your frozen stuffing, have it thawed up by then, and just add it to the side of the chicken, and it'll take those juices will go into your stuffing, and it'll taste just like as if you had just cooked it. Okay, so I've got this all mixed up. Take this glove off. I'm going to take my gloves off because I don't need them anymore. So, I'm going to pull my pan over that's been sprayed. And I'm just going to empty this into the... to the pan. It's kind of heavy.
And you help?
I think I got it. Why don't you give me one of those small baking? Well, I don't know if I want to go ahead and bake this now.
So what do you need?
Do I have the oven on at 350?
No.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bake some of it. If you give me a small little, one of those little baking dishes, I'll bake some so that they could see how it's going to look.
Okay.
But the rest of it, what I'm going to do is put it into this pan, and I'm going to put aluminum foil over it, and I'm going to put it down into the freezer and freeze it, because you can make it in advance, like I said. And then what I'm going to do is the day before Thanksgiving, I'm going to take it out. You can spray that dish too.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. The day before Thanksgiving, I'm going to take it out, put it in the refrigerator so that it can thaw. And then on Thanksgiving morning, or Thanksgiving Day, I'm going to put it into the oven so that it can cook. And it's already been made. So, let's put some in a pan though so that you could see how it's going to cook and what it's going to look like. So I'm going to take some of this off of here. And I always make a pan this side of stuffing, this size, because this Thanksgiving we're probably not going to have anyone here but just us.
I don't know.
But the leftovers are wonderful. And then also, if there was a lot left over, I could have it for Christmas. So, here's a baking dish. I'm going to bake some in this dish. This so you could see what it's going to look like and we could taste it. So I'm putting some in here. Just like so. And what you want to do when you bake your stuffing is cover it. Let me tell you, I love stuffing so much. This is like my favorite. And it's like my mom, when she used to make her stuffing like this, she would use bread instead of the stuff that instead of the what do you call this? Instead of the cube stuffing, she just used bread. But I thought, well, I can use cube stuffing. It's easier.
Now, I have another question. Would your mother fix that? Because my mother did the same thing that I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Did she used to bake her, cube it up and bake it, or just?
Well, you can cube it up and bake the bread so that have some foil when you get a chance. You can cube it up and bake the bread so that it's easier to put in your stuffing, or else you can leave it out, and so that it becomes old, hard, stale bread.
Okay.
And you can do it that way. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my dish here, because this one's going in the freezer. And then I'm going to cover this dish here, and I'm going to bake it so that you can see, you know, what it's going to look like, and we can see what it's going to taste like.
Yeah, pretty good.
So, I'll be back with you. Okay, so the stuffing is done. It's in the plate, ready to be tasted. So let's have Steve taste his first, and let's see what he thinks of it. What do you think, sir?
It's very delicious, very moist.
Right, that's the trick. It's moist. You don't want your stuffing to be dry. So this is my plate. And you can see it good. So let's try it. As a matter of fact, this is what we're having for dinner.
Yeah.
Very moist. And the flavor comes through. And I'm having this with some barbecued turkey that I had in the refrigerator.
And Wagyu beef.
And beef.
Wagyu.
Wagyu beef. And it's delicious. So, I made this video so that you can go ahead and gather your things together if you're going to make it. And like I said, it's a palette. It's like art. You do your own way that you want to do it. So, happy Thanksgiving. Well, I'm not going to say happy Thanksgiving because I have more videos coming. So just stay tuned for more videos. Thank you for looking at because the name did change. It's called Cooking It Up and Exploring with Smitty. So, see you later. Thank you. Have a good one.